Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. It's the Done Deal Show, episode 4. I'm joined this afternoon. Absolute pleasure to have him on the show again. Christophe Terroir is here with us. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm feeling well. I'm sitting in something that feels like a sauna because it's quite hot over here where I am. But anyway, I can't switch the air conditioning. Otherwise, we have too much background noise. It's all my voice or the zooming noise of an aircon. So, and that's not what you want. And it won't reveal any transfer news, I think. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, lots going on at the moment in the transfer market. Some interesting news that has just been released in the last half an hour or so. Talks over the last couple of days have suggested that Chelsea were the team that were moving very, very closely to potentially sign Chelsea in Premier League move over that of Paris Saint-Germain. A tweet and some news recently in the last half an hour has said that actually PSG may now have just moved closer than Chelsea to get any signature. What's your thoughts and latest on the Hakimi transfer saga?
Well, it's not one that I've followed closely to be fair, but I know that from the point where the news broke that Inter was struggling financially, Hakimi was always one of the two names that was mentioned as the ones they were going to sell. If they could sell him for a good price, he was one of the assets that they could offload. So his agents have been offering him around everywhere at the big clubs. He's been offered to Chelsea. I know that they have been talking about it, even considering them. They have Reece James, a wonderful young potential top right back, but still they know that, for instance, Cesar Azpilicueta, he turns 32, I think. So with Hakimi, they might have an extra option, but I've never had the feeling that they already made the big push and that PSG were already far more advanced. It can still change, as we know, as last time I was on. I warned you that with Conte, in the end of a deal, there's always difficulties or complexities. And what happened? Deal was suddenly, 2 days later, deal was off. So it's a difficult one, but I think it's from France that they are trying to send out this message that PSG almost got him, but maybe it's a game too, because that's what happens during sometimes games are played, things are leaked on purpose. Maybe it's to get a reaction from Chelsea because they are moving too slowly. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, he's been offered and he's been discussed at Chelsea. That's what I know.
I agree. I did a sort of little stream on Twitter before going live on here. And, we're asking the question, is Hakimi to Chelsea off? Because that's what the French reports are suggesting. But my view is exactly the same as yours, that this could just be, it could be multiple things. It could be trying to get Chelsea to speed up. It could be PSG sort of setting up a situation so they can say, we offered a massive and amazing package and Chelsea just outbid us. It isn't our fault. There's all sorts of things that could be going on, but I would say
it can be the truth too. It can be because it's a really reliable reporter that reports it. It could be the truth, but you can, sometimes if you're not close to the he's not Belgian, not a Belgian player, so not following everything closely, not doing all the phone calls for this player. You don't often know, and I'm now looking as an observer, having experience with transfers, sometimes inquiring about some of the players. But this is not one where I've been working on, so it's sometimes difficult to analyze. But what's happening in a game. So
I totally agree, and my view is I don't think it's off for Chelsea. I just think the game's stepping up now. PSG have come back in heavy, and if Chelsea want him as much as they've reported into the media that they do, then they've got every chance, I think. And I think Chelsea fans have got to, what it's like, you're on socials a lot. I've just got to relax a bit when they see this news. I must have had about my inbox lit up about 10 times. Terry, what's going on? Like, well, one, I'm an aggregator. I don't have insight to any of this. I get people like yourself on to tell me. But it's an interesting one. I still think Chelsea have got a massive chance of getting in, but we will see how that transpires. Another big breaking bit of news this week involving a young man currently playing at Anderlecht. Arsenal reportedly put in a sort of 10 to 15 million euro bid, I believe, for Lokonga to try and bring him to Arsenal. There were reports that by the end of the week, early part of next, a second bid would go in, and suggesting that Arsenal were really keen to sign him. Has there been any further updates or insight into Arsenal's attempt to bring him in?
I was the reporter. I reported this one first. They have been in touch, but yeah, as we're speaking now, I don't think the second bit has already arrived. I haven't done the phone call yet to check, and I don't think at this point of the negotiations they might not tell us, but I'm not aware of the second bid. Or it can be just not putting in a second bid, just clubs negotiating. They haven't met each other yet. So since they put in their first bid end of last week or beginning or on the weekend, not a lot has happened. Player still has 10 days of holiday, so it can be one that still goes on for 10 days, and then in 10 days he will sign. They still have time to do it. Plus, players has already encouraged Arsenal. Yeah, otherwise they wouldn't make a bid that he's keen on them. And there's not huge competition because there are not a lot of clubs that can afford to pay 20 million euros for a young, promising player. That's not the full product yet. He will need some time to adapt to the Premier League, I think. So for Italian teams, for instance, it's a lot of money. There were a few Italian teams interested to have seen that Atalanta was linked to him, but I was told that he's not the first on the list at Atalanta, and basically that Arsenal at this point don't have a lot of competition either, so they're quite sure that they will get him. And it's one that if it's not happening on Monday, it will be Tuesday, it will be Wednesday, it will be Thursday, it will be Friday or the Monday after. It's one that Anderlecht really need to sell him. They don't count on him for next season. Anderlecht have been struggling financially for the last 2 seasons because not playing in Europe has a big impact on Belgian clubs. They had already had high wages, so they made accumulated loss, I think around £50 million over the last 2 seasons, which is a lot for a club that has a yearly budget of £50 million. So they really had. That's why they had to sell Jeremy Doku for £25 million to Rennes last year. Now they have to sell Lokonga, and they want 20 million euros. So it will be just Arsenal's bid. First bid was. Bonuses included just over 50 million euros, but I think if they make a second bid and not negotiated in between, it will be closer to 17 to even 20 million. So I don't think that's a huge gap to fill. They will find each other somewhere in the middle with some achievable bonuses, I guess.
Yeah, that tends to be the case, and it really does appear that Arsenal were looking to move forward with him. In terms of his talent, what kind of midfield player is he in terms of the role that he'll take up in the middle of the park?
Well, it's one of those players where it's difficult to predict how much progress he can make. He's really good. He has a good technique. He has good progressive passing. He can carry a ball quite good. Sometimes even some people always tell me, he reminds us of the young Yaya Touré, who was also playing in Belgium, but nobody expected that he would make such a big career. I've been told that by players that trained with him in the national team, that he adapted quite easily to the tempo that they were playing in. So maybe it's one of those players that adapts to the level of the team, that blends in quite well, but he's still raw in defensively, he still has some work. Sometimes he needs to take more risks. Physically, he needs to grow. So it will be one that needs a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, I think, before he becomes the midfielder. But I think Arteta, as an assistant manager, he has proven that he can develop players. Midfielder that was, of course, with Pep Guardiola this side, but even in Kevin De Bruyne's growth at Manchester City, Arteta had his influence. The same with Raheem Sterling. They've worked with. So he comes in Belgium. He didn't have any competition anymore. He was one of the better midfielders. Sometimes still inconsistent, but that's logical for young players. And I always say, watching the young Kevin De Bruyne of 20, 21 years old, he wasn't consistent either in the Belgian league. He was far ahead. He scored goals, he had assists, but in the position of Lokonga, who doesn't have really good stats, it's more difficult to shine too. People now tend to look a lot at the stats, but yeah, for defensive midfielder for 6 or 8, it's difficult to achieve those stats. So he's one that needs some work, but he's rated highly by the people who worked with him. He's had 2 serious knee injuries when he was like a few years ago, but yeah, anyway, I'm told he's fit and he recovered well. And yeah, it's not the guy that relies a lot on hype. He's not the slowest, but doesn't rely a lot on sprints or on accelerations. It's just one of those that, yeah, you can play in every position in midfield. And in a rotation, I see why Arsenal are buying him. It's not a huge risk for them to pay 15, 20 million euros for a midfielder that is promising and just become a Belgian international too. So that means that they really believe in him, and they have had a few good phone calls. They've done their work. They have been in touch with a few people in Belgium to talk about him, to get his background, so they know what kind of player they are signing. And I think there might even be a connection between Arteta and Vincent Kompany. If I was Arteta, I would just go Vincent Kompany. They've worked together at City, so it's easy to get some information on a player then.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like a talent. And as you say, between 15 and 20 million, in the modern day game, it isn't a bad risk. And Arsenal have got a rich history of missing out on players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Zlatan, Yaya when they were this age. So this would be a good thing to sign him now.
Yes, otherwise, it's not Arsene Wenger in charge anymore, who always like to mention the guys who he missed. But yeah, it's one that you can take a little bet on. If he's not up to the level in 3-4 years, you've at least tried to sign a midfielder before he becomes the big hit. Get him in now, and it's for him. They will have a season without European football, so there will be less pressure on him too. He will get the time to train properly too. That's the thing too. Like during the week, players really take advantage of sometimes of training day in, day out. Look at the Conte season, the first Conte season at Chelsea, where they had time to work on everything, like 5 days in the week, and then only 1 game a week. And that might be good for his development too. And then hoping that he plays in Europe to take that next step, because that's basically what's still missing in his game. He hasn't played a lot for the national team, only 1 game. He hasn't played. I'm not sure if maybe he played in a few European games, but usually European games for scouts are the games that they see this players can meet the next level. He hasn't done that yet, but we'll see. I know that Roberto Martinez is a big fan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been number 27 in the Belgium squad if Axel Witsel hadn't recovered in time from his injury. He would have been one of our backups in midfield. So maybe for Arsenal, it's good that he's not in the Euro squad, so they can get him already now, and that there won't be any competition anymore. Because once players start shining or get a chance on the Euros and grab that chance, you get the Locatelli effect, where suddenly everybody's looking at you because you're performing well.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think he's a young, I've read some really good things about him this week, and I think Arsenal fans are quite excited about the prospect of him coming. It feels like it could be a done deal very, very soon in terms of getting it over the line and he'll be an Arsenal player next season. And Arsenal are looking at a lot of players at the moment. As we know, there's links to Ruben Neves, Basuma, there's Ben White. In terms of your point of view, do you see it being a busy summer for Arsenal?
They need to be busy because they're going to offload a few players too. If you look at in their midfield, they definitely need strengthening. If you lose, Granit Xhaka the deal is still not done with AS Roma, but that is one that might only be done once Switzerland are out of the Euros. So you have Guendouzi that they want to offload. You have still Touré, I think, is still on that list too. So they're offloading some of their midfielders to refreshen that midfield. So, and apart from Lokonga, I think they will sign another midfielder too. I think one with more experience they can use. So that's why Ruben Neves, I think, is linked. He will be one of the different options for midfield. They lost Odegaard, they lost Ceballos, who were both on loan. So they will try to sign one of those two too. I think Odegaard is still one of their priorities as an attacking midfielder. So they need refreshing of their squad, and they need better players. Ben White, of course, that's one that they've put in a bid in, but they haven't signed him yet. So busy summer for them. They have some money, but they hope to get some money in. For instance, if Xhaka goes, the 20 million euros you get from Xhaka, you use them on Lokonga, so that's the zero operation, and you have the budget left to sign other players.
Yeah, they need, as you say, they need that big summer. They need to move players out, and they need to freshen up this squad because Arsenal have fallen so far from grace. And as you say, with Lokonga, maybe Ben White coming in, either one of Basuma or Neves being signed, that's certainly improving the quality from last season, which is going to be hugely key for them. In terms of London, Chelsea Football Club had mentioned with their Hakimi pursuit, we know that they're still deliberating over what striker to go for mainly between Lukaku and Haaland. They're the two names that keep coming up. In terms of players leaving Chelsea, is there anything, are there any sort of usual suspects that we know that the Alonsos and Zabacostas are on the chopping block? Are there any kind of players that we may not necessarily think are leaving that could be on their way out? Or what's the sort of latest in terms of that?
But not really that I'm aware of, but they have to offload lots of players, to be fair. Even the Batshuayis and of those sorts, players that were out on loan last season, the Emersons of this world who want to get out. I think Olivier Giroud is not too happy about his situation too. So, but it's a difficult market to offload players, definitely for big English clubs. If players are earning a lot of money, it's the Italian clubs don't have a lot of money, so they're not offering those wages or the fees that they're expecting. Spain, it's similar. So if it's not to other English clubs, I think some teams might struggle to offload players. And as I'm told, Chelsea need to sell players like, even, for instance, a Tammy Abraham. If they want, Tammy Abraham is one of the names that's been mentioned that they might sell if a good offer comes in. But Chelsea are known for asking a lot of money for their prospects too. So it won't be the easiest market unless the ball suddenly starts rolling and there's a team that pays £100 million for a certain player, and the cash starts moving around. But it's still waiting for that first move. Like, what's Harry Kane going to do? Is he going to City or not? Can City pay what Spurs are expecting? So it's still waiting. I still think we still need to wait for the Euros to be over or at an advanced stage before everything really starts moving, except the easier deals like the Lokongas of this world.
I agree with that, and I think it's waiting for that to end. There's so many players that I feel like are the starting domino pieces for this transfer window. One of them that's going to be key currently with the French team, Raphael Varane. One day he's joining Paris Saint-Germain, the next day Man United are favourites. Now a lot of the reports are suggesting he could be staying at Real Madrid. What's your take on the Raphael Varane transfer situation?
Well, he's manoeuvred himself in a really good position, to be fair. With 1 year left, you have all possibilities to put a lot of pressure on the club you're playing in. But on the other hand, you can, he knows that if he doesn't sign a new deal at Real Madrid might look to sell him because otherwise they won't get any penny for him anymore. So, but I still looking at Real Madrid's situation, losing Ramos. That you need to offer him a new deal. You need to, otherwise you lose the core of your defense. And Man United have been linked a lot to players of Real Madrid in the past, also Sergio Ramos, and that will never. it never materialized. So Manchester United is sometimes one of those clubs that's been used by agents to put a lot of pressure on other clubs. Everybody knows that Man United have always had money that they've always been able to spend. But I think you can draw up long lists of players that have been linked to Manchester United and have never been a real target. I always have to laugh when I see Gaetan, who used to play for Atletico, linked to Manchester United, and the same is true for Isco and Manchester City. That's one that always kept on coming back, but there was never real interest. And it's one of those that agents use, or maybe sometimes lazy linking of they've been interested in him before, so he's still a target. That happens a lot too in a transfer window. I know that Dennis Praat, before he joined Leicester, has been known as an Arsenal target for like 10 years, because when he was 16, he once visited the Arsenal training camp. He talked to Wenger, but he thought, no, this isn't the right situation. I stay in Belgium, I will develop over there. But once you're an Arsenal target, once you're a Manchester United target, you're always a Manchester United target, just because you're somewhere on the list, on a scouting list, and nothing really happens.
Yeah, no, I agree. I look at Raphael Varane, and there's just something about it. I can't see him in a Man United kit, and maybe it's the Real Madrid link, as you say. But I also feel with Ramos leaving, I think Real Madrid will increase their bid. It is in their new contract offer. I think they'll offer Varane the money that he wants. I think they're only sort of between $1 million and $2 million shy of that asking price anyway that he's asking for. And once he gets it, then he'll sign and stay with what Real Madrid are looking to do and rebuild. I just get that feeling he'll stay, really, in my heart of hearts.
But I think in a situation that, it's it's a bit of bolstering always. In when you have strong characters, they like to poster sometimes. We'll see what happens, but you can still stay. That's Steiner New Deal. It's not a huge gap. So you think, they will find an agreement. That's what you're thinking right now. What are the other real options left? I don't know. So.
No, I hear you on that completely. It's been an interesting one, but obviously it stops a lot of teams pushing forward. I know Chelsea have looked at centre backs, and Varane is one of them. So you're never going to get Man United go for Koundé or go for Pau Torres until they know the complete situation with Varane, because you don't want the horse to bolt too early. Because if you sign someone who's a left player and then suddenly Varane does turn down this Real Madrid deal, you're left with a bit of egg on your face that you've missed out on a bigger and better target. So as you say, these dominoes need to fall into place, and it's interesting to know when they will. Staying with sort of Man United, we're definitely not talking Jadon Sancho. I think that everyone knows where that deal is. It doesn't need to be spoken about anymore.
It's been the same for almost more than a year now. They're still not advanced. They want him, but they still haven't paid what the others want. So it's status quo.
I got an email yesterday from someone saying, Terry, why do so many YouTube channels that have journalists on talk about why do the journalists keep talking about Sancho? I said, because everyone keeps asking them about it. And I said, if everyone just stopped asking, you'll stop hearing about it. It's one of them. Another player that everyone is keen to hear about, there's been some updates today, Paul Pogba's new deal. Do you see him staying with Man United? PSG are heavily linked with him again this afternoon. Same sources as the Hakimi to PSG news. What's your take on Paul Pogba's current situation?
Yeah, he has the most tricky agent you can get, the agent that will get the best deal for his player. So, I don't think Juventus have always been linked, and him happy to go back to Turin. I don't think at the moment they can afford him. Plus, they are talking to another midfielder with Locatelli. They were already interested, but I think if Juventus want to get that target, they will go for Locatelli. I think if you already had him on the list, definitely you have to act fast, seeing what's happening on the Euros with Locatelli, how he's performing. So I think he might go for him. And then it's for Raiola to play his game with Pogba. He can end up staying at Manchester United. Or I don't see him at a moment in PSG PSG can always get some extra quality in midfield, because it's not the most exciting midfield. If you look at it, they can always use some extra quality. But what happens with Mbappe, for instance? He still hasn't signed a new deal. Can they afford Pogba at the moment, wages-wise, transfer fee-wise? Neymar signed a new deal, but yeah, it's still waiting with PSG what they're going to do it's waiting on Mbappe basically. Yeah, they will sign Donnarumma as a goalkeeper. I'm not sure. He hasn't done his medicals, I think, and it's not been announced yet. But yeah, that's a Raiola client moving to PSG, and Raiola might have mentioned Pogba in the talks too. But they're signing already a few high-profile players, and then you think, will they get and afford the wages if Mbappe is staying, or is Mbappe going to Real Madrid, what everybody expects? But yeah, Madrid need money to make that deal happen too. So anyway, so.
You mentioned Locatelli there, a player who is having an amazing Euros, 2 games in, a brace in his last match. First time he's ever scored 2 goals in a game. Suddenly he is linked to everybody. And of course, he would have been on scouting lists. People, clubs have hundreds of scouts watching thousands of players over the course of a year or two. I've heard Man United are linked with him, as you've mentioned. I think I've heard Chelsea's name, City's name. I suppose everybody's looking at him right now in Europe.
Yeah, it's the magnitude of a tournament. It's strange that it still has such a big effect. Usually you expect scouts to see things already. His qualities haven't changed. I saw his first international game. I remember watching Holland against Italy in Amsterdam, September, a year ago. And he came in quite... Yeah, you didn't see that it was his first game. So there you're already seeing this guy has some quality. Although international football always a little lower level than club football, there you saw this quiet guy has quality. And yeah, it's his luck that the Euros have been taking place this year, not last year, because last year he wouldn't have had the chance to shine because he only became an international in September. So yeah, it's a quick development, and he has something over him where you say, yeah, quality. But as we all know, Italian players tend to stay in their own country a lot too. So I think if an Italian team comes in like Juve, they might have the chance to sign him. And not to forget, he's already been at AC Milan. He didn't break through. Had to go back to Sassuolo to make his really break, to get his breakthrough. So yeah, I think if I was Juventus and I need an upgrade on what they're having in their midfield now, I wouldn't doubt and go for an Italian guy, because it's still as an Italian club. If you have the talent available in your own country, you go for a player from your own country, definitely, because he's only between backs playing at Sassuolo. But I think it had been mentioned before the tournament already that Juventus were really keen on signing him. So I think if they really want him, they've already made the move right now, because it's exploding. And Juve have that advantage that they still have a little bit of money left, unlike the other competitors they have in AC Milan and Inter. They don't have a lot of budget left. Atalanta they still have money. They're still going to spend some money on some players, but it's not the huge budget. So yeah, then you say advantage for Juve. And I don't think like City and Chelsea, for instance, are really on to get a new central midfielder, because they've both, unless somebody goes, they still have some good midfielders, and they have still plenty. Yeah, if you look at Chelsea, if you have Jorginho, Kanté, Kovacic, you still have some talent in midfield. You don't need a real replacement. You're going to bring Locatelli in as one to go into that rotation system. Maybe he's going to say no. So if he goes to Juve, he will be a starter, I think. So anyway.
And as you say, most if you look at the top 4 leagues in Europe, most English players stay in England, most Germans stay in Germany, most Spanish stay in La Liga, and most Italians stay in Italy. And I think that it's very difficult to prize them away when the biggest and the best and the most prestigious in their homeland come asking for them. It's very difficult to pull them away. So yeah, the Locatelli situation, I've seen him linked to my club and others. I'm kind of ignoring it until I see him holding a shirt. I think.
But if you look at let's say Manchester United, you still have McTominay, you still have Matic, you still have Pogba. If Pogba goes, for instance, it might be different. Then somebody has to go, but still you have like five midfielders on your list. So definitely one needs to go before you can move another in. Definitely, because a player who's just shown on a tournament, he can't ask guarantees for starting 11th place, but you expect that they are say you are man, you will be playing a lot. So
I totally get that. I really do. And just finally, point from yourself. You mentioned them a little bit earlier, but Tottenham, you got it absolutely spot on in relation to the Antonio Conte situation, that it might look like it's going to be done, but he'll ask for something else. He'll kind of not change his terms massively, but he'll put in another demand. It was kind of reported that Spurs walked away. I don't necessarily believe that. I just think that doesn't make sense. Why would away from a world-class manager? But Conte didn't happen. They went for Fonseca. Fonseca hasn't happened. They looked at Gattuso. Gattuso is not happening. What's your understanding of Spurs' managerial situation right now?
Back to start for the 10th time. I don't think that they even know what they want. I did that tweet this morning that all the managers that have been linked, different kind of profiles, different style of football, and then they got like Paratici, an experienced Italian deal maker. But then he goes back to his connection. Everything leaks out. Now, it's a typical Italian thing, I must say. Nothing stays private over there, not on transfers. Everything leaks out quite easily. They talk openly about it, unlike in England where they like a little bit of secrecy. So, but I think it's back to square one. It's like they're playing a board game, and they always bump onto that one square where they go back to start. And it's like Monopoly, back to jail without passing the start. So it's a difficult one. And I always joke that by this rate they won't have a new manager when the Euros finish, so they can try and get the manager of a team that has performed well in the Euros. Roberto Martinez had a few informal chats a few months ago, I don't know, a few months, because Mourinho was only sacked 60 days ago, I think. But they inquired for him, and he was on the list somewhere, and they did a few chats, but he never heard back of them. So by this point, he might be on the list, back on the list by the end of the Euros. But I don't think it's high profile enough for Daniel Levy, because they have been linked only to big names, to be fair.
This is where I think the interesting element. I'm an outsider looking in at Tottenham, but I feel like they had conversations with Martinez's. There was a rumor here quite early on of some brief talks with or inquiries into Gareth Southgate. There's Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, that level of manager. But the fans and the club want, in their opinion, something bigger and bolder. But all the bigger managers they've gone for have said no. So then you find yourself in this awkward position where you're going to have to go back to the original people you spoke to that you walked away from. And what message does that send to them? What message? I mean, imagine the message that sends to the Spurs squad of, hang on a minute, so you're going to give us a manager that you didn't even want in the first place, that was maybe 10th on your list. It doesn't send it definitely isn't going to convince Harry Kane to stay. Like, Conte could have done that, I think. Conte's a caliber of manager that could get everybody galvanized and say, listen, Harry, give us a year. We can turn things around and change things for you. But it's going to be interesting to see how that transpires in the coming weeks.
Yeah, Definitely. I'm looking forward to one. It's like a daily. They should do a daily television show on it. Every day something new. Every day a new name. Maybe they can find the suitable candidate by doing a reality TV show with Lord Sugar or something like that.
Maybe that could be good. Bring back Harry Redknapp. Bring back Harry Redknapp. That's what they might do. That's what they might do. Listen, Christoph, I appreciate you coming on with this today and giving us a bit of insight and a bit of an update. I know there's not a great deal going on because of the Euros, but thanks for updating, especially on Lokonga as well to Arsenal. I appreciate that a lot.
No worries. You're welcome.
Lovely. And we'll speak again soon. Take care, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Christoph. Thank you. Everyone, we're still here with you. We're still here for over the course of the next half an hour or so. I've got an interview and a bit of a preview coming up with myself and George Lineker, of course, the son of Gary Lineker, building up to the England-Scotland game that kicks off at 8 o'clock. But we're going to open up the phone lines for you to come on and have your say. Some interesting updates there from Christoph in relation to the Hakimi deal. As he said, no one quite knows who's being fed the complete truth, whether it is PSG that are favourites, whether it is Chelsea that are favourites. It's about you believing what you want to believe, because there's credible journalists on both sides here. They're both being fed a story. They're both giving that story to the truest sense that they can. I think Simon Stone has come out and said Chelsea are still favourites. Dean Jones has said Chelsea are favourites. Simon Phillips has said Chelsea are favourites. You've got the French press and PSG are favourites. Go figure. But as Christoph said, don't think it's over. Don't think the race is done. For me, I think it's just heating up. Christoph agrees, not with me. That's his opinion as well in relation to that. The Lokonga to Arsenal situation, they haven't put their second bid in. It was Christoph, of course, that broke this news to the world a few days ago, but it looks very, very likely to happen. He will be an Arsenal player. There is no doubt about it whatsoever. A super chat here says, I don't know why so many Chelsea fans are freaking out, Terry. I don't know why. That super chat looks so weird. Let me change that now. That's how they should look. There we go. Why they're freaking out so much, Terry. 2 weeks ago, Hakimi wasn't even on our minds. Now everybody is freaking out because we might miss out. Look, I don't think anybody should be. I don't think anybody should be freaking out about it at all. I don't think anybody should be panicking about it at all. I don't think anybody should be annoyed about it at all. It's almost feels like sort of the nature of the beast, as it were. In this current sort of era of this sort of current era that we find ourselves in relation to transfers, it was very likely to happen that PSG were going to come in. They were going to come in hard, and they're always going to spin the PR in that way. Right now, it suits Hakimi for both sets of medias to be speaking like this, French and English, because whichever club he goes to, he can just deny the other. He can just say, "I never put them for. I didn't say that. Just say I didn't say that." And Chelsea fans, you'll believe him because he's yours and you want to believe it. The French won't care because he's not there. He hasn't got to face them every single day. And everybody moves on. It's like when a player's looking to leave a club. They always come out with the same lines. I respect the fans. I love the club. I love living here. It feels like home. But they've got their agent out looking for another club. That way, if they stay, they can say, hang on, I told you a few weeks ago, I love it here. If they leave, they can say, opportunity happened. The club wanted to get rid of me, but I leave with a heavy heart. And you still say, oh, bless him. It's just the way it is. The Chelsea fans relax on that. Monsieur here says Hakimi will go to Chelsea. What year is your shirt? This is a brand new shirt. I think it's like a retro looking training shirt of some sort. I don't really know. It was a Father's Day gift. Blaze here says, Terry, want to know what your thoughts on, I cannot pronounce that name, to Arsenal are, with Arsenal both battling again. Let me just, hang on a second. Maybe it's the way you've typed the name. I just want to make sure that I've not got that wrong. When I get a name that my brain gets a little trigger in it. So who is this lad? Who does he play for? I don't know much about him at all. Are we talking about Andre Zambo Angessa? Oh, there we go, from Fulham. There we go. I don't know much about him, really. Of course, I watched him play last year. His name didn't stand out to me when you typed it in there, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to really give you too much of an opinion on a player that I know very little about. Once I saw he played for Fulham, it just clicked who he is. Ngassa, there we go. Ngassa. My dyslexic brain just wouldn't read the word because I couldn't read it. I couldn't say it in my head, and because I couldn't say it, I couldn't put the face to the name. Good. Is he better than the Neveses and the Basumas you're looking at? I'm not too sure. In my opinion, but we will see. Thank you very much for that. A lot of you telling me, yeah, plays for Fulham. Yeah. Do you know what? If I'd have been able to read the name, my dyslexic brain hadn't kicked in, I probably would have put 2 and 2 together, but I had to Google it. And then when I saw him, I was like, I know who he is because I remember hearing his name on commentary. But there we go. No, this isn't from, I don't know when this shirt is from. I don't know when it's built from. He's trying to banter, but it failed. Oh, is he trying to banter? I haven't seen no Arsenal link either. So if I'd have seen an Arsenal link, I might have taken a look. But yeah, I've not heard of it. I'm never going to say I've heard of things I haven't heard of. You can't catch me out like that. And if I see a player's name that I don't recognize, I'm going to say I don't recognize it. You're never going to get it that way with me. Stop flip-flopping on Hakimi. Never flip-flop once. That's the weirdest take I've seen in what we've said here. I'm going to share the link for you guys to call in and have your say. Remember, we've got the George Lineker interview and preview coming up very, very soon as well. I'm going to share the link in the live comment section, but make sure you're smashing that like button, please, ladies and gentlemen, right about now. Get your super chat questions in as well. Phone up and have your say if you want to ask me a question of any sort. If you're watching over on YouTube, make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on the bell notification button. If you're watching on Twitter, retweet and like. If you're watching on our Twitch page, make sure you hit that follow button. We're going to get Matty on now. Matty, of course, I need to change something over here. I need to change the branding of this. I don't know what's going to happen when I press this. Did anything change? Not so much. Of the background, I want to make sure this works. I'm trying something new at the moment, and I don't know how well this is going to work. But Matty's now with us. What are you saying? It did work. There we go. Matty, what are you saying, buddy?
How you doing, Terry? You okay?
Very well. What's on your mind?
Hopefully we can. What's the likelihood? Do you think he'll choose Chelsea? Because I mean, obviously now Paris Saint-Germain put in a bid. It's going to be a bit of a mad one, really, isn't it? I mean, I totally agree with the last comment though, which was, we didn't have him in our minds until obviously Chelsea made the bid. So I mean, at the end of the day, I think most of our attention is on Haaland and trying to sort out the striking situation. But I mean, hopefully we can get Hakimi. What would you? Do you think this is not going to be an ending cycle? Or do you think there's going to be they're going to counter offer? Obviously, yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on who you listen to. Chelsea's offer into Milan. If you actually look at the French link as well, it states, if I'm not mistaken, that Inter have moved closer. I'm going to go and read it now again. Actually, let me read this again. It's translated again from French into English, so maybe the translation isn't perfect, but it says, PSG have moved closer in recent hours for Hakimi. Chelsea moved closer to Inter's demands, but Hakimi's priority is PSG. Now, they're saying that the only bit that people are focused on is the priority element, but they're not focusing on the bit before that, which is, okay, PSG have moved closer, but it says that Chelsea moved closer to Inter's demands. If PSG don't meet Inter's demands, Chelsea have got a free run at it. At the same time, Chelsea's offer might be better, so they might then just... Got to remember this, Inter Milan are in financial difficulties. So if Chelsea's offer is better because they get a lot of money and the player they're really desperate for, they might just reject PSG's to push Hakimi more towards Chelsea for you. But at the same time, the French are saying Hakimi wants France. The English are saying Hakimi wants England. Go figure. You'll probably find he's looking for the best deal possible for himself, and it suits his purposes. I bet it's his agent that's fed into both parties the same thing. Yeah. So I wouldn't panic about it. Chelsea are the favourites according to some very credible people. They've been told that. It's all going to come down to how much do Chelsea want him. If Chelsea really want him, they'll get it done. But PR plays such a lot. I keep saying this on shows. PR plays a gargantuan role now when it comes to transfers. Man United, as an example, they care more about the media reporting that they're spending no more than £80 million on Sancho than they do actually spending more than £80 million on Sancho. It's how it makes them look as opposed to what goes on. Look at Chelsea, all Spurs shenanigans. If Spurs would have kept all these shenanigans in-house and then ended up with Graham Potter, they could have said, it's who we wanted. But because it's all been played out publicly, it looks terrible. Clubs want to control the narrative. They want to control the stories as best they can. So I wouldn't panic. Hakimi to Chelsea is still massively on, in my opinion.
I mean, who do you think's going to? Speaking of that, Spurs, who do you think's going to get the job at Spurs? In your opinion, I mean, I joked Fat Sam and possibly the local fish and chip shop manager. I mean, to be honest with you, at this stage, I mean, you'd be mad to turn him down in a lot of ways. But I mean, who would you see is getting the Tottenham Hotspur job?
I have no idea, and I say that because everyone I've spoken to, that's connected to Tottenham, 2 or 3 journalists in the UK that are connected to Tottenham, they have all said the exact same thing to me. They're almost at a point where they don't want to listen to what they're being told because journalists get ridiculous. Like there are YouTubers that dedicate their life now to fraud watching what a journalist said, and it's like, so they're reluctant to give the information. I spoke to one yesterday that said, I'm not even telling you, Terry, what I've been told, because you're going to do a YouTube video about it. He goes, you'll credit me because you're not a thief of information. But then when it goes wrong, I get abuse. And they're scared of it going wrong. It's gone wrong 8 times already since Jose got sacked. So for me, I think they're going to end up with somebody of a Martinez, Graham Potter, Southgate level. I don't believe they're going to bring in an elite level manager now because I don't know who's available that they can get. Ten Hag is a possibility, but if you're Ten Hag right now, look at how shit they're being run. Why would you want to join? I actually think, again, I don't steal things. I'm quoting Josh here, man like Josh, who comes on, Spurs fan. I think you might see before they announce a new manager. I might think you might see the resignation of Peretici. I think their new director of football could resign before a new manager comes in.
It makes me laugh as well when you've got Gattuso. They were linked with Gattuso, and he already resigned because of transfer problems there. Well, he's not going to go to Tottenham if he's not going to get the players, is he? I mean, let's face it. You know, they're struggling to keep Harry Kane. So I mean, and you watch Son will go out the door next. And you watch that'll be a corner shop of a club near enough now, because if you get rid of those 2 big players, that'll be it.
Son's meant to be signing a new deal, but we'll see what happens with that role. Listen, Matty, thanks for coming on, mate, and having your say. Really, top man. Thank you. Super chat here says PSG have always, I think you mean always said they will not get into a bidding war with other clubs. Conte to Tottenham Hotspur. Again, that could happen. That's also a good shout. Maybe they go back in, maybe they work in reverse now, Tottenham. Maybe they go backwards and say, let's go back to Conte, let's give in to those demands. That may be a way of saving face with fans as well. They're all genuine possibilities moving forward. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Next on the show, Monsieur Ahmed is here. What are you saying, buddy?
Hi, Terry. Yeah, not too bad. Just want to touch up on Arsenal and having their bids getting rejected constantly by the likes of Brighton and what's that team? The team that Lokonga they're bidding for. I'm just quite thinking that has their influence as a big team starting to go down now? Because I hear what the other day, I think what Igal was trying to say, and quote me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, Terry. But I think what I'm trying to say is that they're trying to be as efficient as possible in terms of transfer fees. They don't want to overpay the other teams, but I don't think they're in that position to say that we can, they can get the money as low as possible, if you know what I mean. Because right now they haven't got a team that's good enough to play.
Who are you talking about? Spurs?
Arsenal.
Oh, Arsenal. Sorry. I thought you mentioned Spurs, and I lost train of thought. Yeah, look, I think from my point of view, Arsenal, that they need to improve the squad in its entirety, as opposed to just looking at, as opposed to just kind of focusing on 1 or 2 big stars. They need more depth. So that's why they're looking at 4 or 5 players this summer. And equally, like, Arsenal fans have got to slow down. They've got loads of holes that will not all be covered in one summer, both first team and squad. It's going to take a couple of summers to get this done properly. And they need to, whether they stick with Arteta or not, almost becomes an irrelevance in many ways. What Arsenal Football Club need to do is have a club plan that they stick to. And it's the teams nowadays that have club plans that over the right period of time find themselves in better situations. That they really, really do. Just some breaking news to bring you 1 second, Monzo. Breaking news. Just been I've seen a Fabrizio Romano tweet that Christian Eriksen has been discharged from hospital today. Of course, 6 days after he suffered cardiac arrest on the field of play at the Euros, which is amazing news. It's just been announced by the Danish Football Association. So congratulations to him and his family on that excellent news. It really is positive news indeed. Something to celebrate that he's been discharged from hospital. Of course, there's going to be some surgery, I believe, to implement a kind of pacemaker that has like a kind of built-in starter built into it as well, which is going to be positive. And there is still the outside chance that he returns to football. So massively positive news. I'm not sure if congratulations is actually the right word. More, wishing him well and just really happy for them is what I'm saying. So I think it is. It's something to celebrate. It's something to celebrate.
It's something to celebrate.
Once that was something to congratulate him for being better, or I think maybe. Anyway, brilliant news. Monzo, thank you very much for joining me on the show, mate. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Of course, tonight, England take on the might. They take on the might of Scotland. It's going to be an amazing affair. We did an interview earlier on today with George Lineker, son of Gary Lineker, previewed the game, had a little bit about a chat about his life as the son of an England legend. Let's go and take a look at what he said. And here by George Lineker. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Enjoying the Euros. Not so much the turn in weather in recent days, but it's been an exciting tournament so far. And England playing.
Typical exchange on the England day.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what, though? I think I'm actually intrigued to see how England do tonight with no blistering heat in kind of very traditional British weather against Scotland. I thought against Croatia, we sort of took off the gas a little bit at times because of the heat. So be intriguing to see how we do. I believe you're on your way to the game tonight.
Yeah, going there this afternoon. So it should be pretty good. Thankfully, it's at Wembley as well, so good atmosphere. Glad fans are back in the stadium as well.
Yeah, and what kind of chance do you give England at this tournament? How do you think they'll get on?
I think we've obviously got a very good side. The group shouldn't be an issue really, but I think it's the next round, isn't it, where we get the second. Well, depending on where we come, the team in. Is it Portugal, Germany, and France? So I think that's a test because obviously they're the toughest teams in the tournament. So I think if we get to the quarters after that, it'd be good, and I think we could do quite well.
People don't seem to have as much belief. They don't seem to expect us to do as well. And do you think that could play a bit more of a benefit into the hands of these players, having them not being under so much pressure?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think. Did we go to Russia not expecting to do that well, and we did quite well. So I think maybe when there's not as much pressure on us, we might do better. Because I was lucky enough to go to the Colombia game in Russia where we won on penalties. I was behind the goal for that, so that was quite good. And then I watched the Croatia game, when it was Hyde Park with thousands of people, which was very good as well. So it's just a shame we couldn't, because we could have really beaten Croatia, I think. But then obviously the final would have been really tough. We did well there, and then hopefully if we get past the group of death, if we get through this group stage next round, then I think we could do quite well again.
So in terms of sort of when you look at England's talent and the way the team's made up there, who are the standout players for you, the ones that you think could help us deliver maybe the trophy?
Obviously Foden is world class. Grealish didn't start last game, but hopefully he plays today. I think I'd rate him on his class. Who else we got? Cam Fitz, great last game. And obviously Harry Kane up top as well. So we've got so many great players, and obviously the defence got some great young talent as well. A lot of people close to not making it as well, which shows just how strong a squad we are.
Obviously, George, your father's very recognisable in the world of football. For my generation, I watched him play for many, many years.
Yeah.
Famous games, famous goals for England and Tottenham, and of course Leicester City. The younger generation see him more as the presenter of Match of the Day and BT Sport Champions League football. What was it like growing up around all of that?
Yeah, obviously it's strange, like going to football matches. Well, even today still, but back in the day when I was younger, it was just mental. Crowds of people shouting me when he just walks in the stadium. But in everyday life, obviously, when I was younger and growing up, then I didn't really know anything different. So, like when I was really young, I just assumed like it was sort of normal. But then, obviously, as you get older, you also get used to it. So it doesn't really affect or I notice anything now. But obviously, you still appreciate that he played and he still works in football and everything. So it just carries on from there really. But obviously, the surroundings, like where you are, make a difference to like the reception you get.
Yeah, I mean, who do you support yourself? You grew up supporting Leicester as well?
No, I'm Man United.
Oh, good luck.
I'm the only one who's on the whole of my family are Leicester, going through like brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and then there's me, Man United. So that's not too popular, but it's good. It's good banter between the brothers, especially when we play each other.
Yeah, that's nice. I got 4 brothers, and we all support different teams. So every single one of us supports a different team.
Really?
Yeah, my dad was Tottenham.
Who are you?
I'm Man United myself. I support Man United myself. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think so. And like my dad was Spurs growing up, and which is why I watched a lot of your dad growing up, because my dad would have him on the TV, or my dad would come home and I saw this, he did this today, in a kind of Gaza link up era, which was absolutely amazing. And yeah, the banter in my house growing up was like that as well. It was nice when you played each other and stuff. And
yeah, so he was before my time, so I never actually saw him.
Yeah, that would have been it. It's very good.
I've seen YouTube clips and everything. I watched the was it Argentina? Yeah, Argentina in '90, Italy '90. I've seen the full 90 minutes of that, but that's the only game.
Yeah, he was. Of course, you know this. He was quality. To be fair,
he was all right.
He was a good footballer. Retired for me. I'll be honest. Retired a little bit earlier than he needed to. Like he was still. I
think he had an injury. I think big toe was sort of affected the end of the career. Like he was towards the end of it anyway. But I think the big toe injury is what sort of finished it earlier than maybe what it could have.
Did yourself or any of your siblings sort of fancy going into football? Did you try football?
I was useless, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. I wish I inherited those sort of genes. I just seem to have the ears. But Tobias, the third one down. There's 4 of us. The third one down played at Chelsea Academy for a few years. But obviously, it's so hard to make it. But that was when he was younger. But he did quite well.
I understand you started a new business yourself.
Yes, recently. Basically, I started a telecoms business called Your Business Number. Doesn't sound too interesting, but it's basically gives you another mobile number in like under a minute. So if you wanted another mobile number on your phone to use with WhatsApp Business, because obviously WhatsApp and WhatsApp Business, you need 2 different numbers. So you'd have to get another phone. So it's just if you want to separate your work life from your social life, have all like your clients or your work in one chat in one place, and then obviously have your social life in your normal WhatsApp and keep everything separate, keep more organised. So thought there'd be a few people who'd have use for that, like self-employed people, small business owners, just to keep 2 different numbers on one phone for an affordable price. We launched recently and see how it goes. Hopefully it goes quite well.
Absolutely. We've put all the details in the description below, and I advise the viewers to look at. I said to you yesterday, it's actually something I need for what I'm doing now within social media. So I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it was there. So yeah,
everyone, come to me.
Go check out. Go check it out, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. And just before we go, tonight England plays Scotland. What's your prediction?
Well, I've had a feeling 3-0, but then I've bet on 3-0, so it definitely won't be. I never win bets, so I wouldn't go for 3-0. But that's what I've been thinking recently overnight, and then so I started money on it, so that won't come in now. But we'll see.
Yeah, you've ruined it. You've tainted it.
I know.
Absolutely. Listen, George, it's been a pleasure speaking to you.
No, cheers, Terry.
Enjoy it again. Speak to you soon.
Have a good one. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We obviously spoke to George. It was really nice chatting to him, actually. It was really good. Nice lad behind the scenes as well. Yeah, but go check it out. The information for your business number is in the description below. Really fantastic business. You might want to create what you might want to create a WhatsApp group with people, but not want to give your phone number out, like your actual number, so people can call you. You can create one that's just for that. Very good idea, I think. So go check that out as well. Get your England score predictions in, please. Get that done. I'd like to know what you all think the score is going to be this evening in that game. I'm still having people in the comment section saying Hakimi isn't off. No one said it is off. We've asked a question. We're asking people with the news that come out from Paris Saint-Germain. We've given our opinions. You've sometimes got to listen. You know what I mean? It's, you know, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen to what's being said, I think, before you say things sometimes. People get literally rattled by madness things. They really do. But listen, everyone who's tuned in to us today, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. We're back after England versus Scotland later on this evening. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again.